Ticor Title. And what I want to talk to Mark about today is title. When I go out on listing presentations or making an offer on a property, one of the first things I do is call Mark. And Mark does investigations. He's going to explain that to you. And he's going to just explain to us basically what title is. I think it's a very confusing concept, and run with it, Mark.
Perfect. Thanks,
Go
Michelle.
ahead.
Thanks for having me. Well, let's kind of break it down into two things. As Michelle alluded to, a lot of times she'll call me if she's writing an offer with a buyer, going on a listing presentation. And what we're essentially doing is checking behind the scenes, if you will, who is the owner of record, how many open loans are against the property, are there multiple people on title, is it held in a trust, are there powers of attorneys?
There's so many different scenarios.
Has somebody passed
it's just
away?
Sort of crazy.
So essentially what we're trying to do in advance is alert Michelle of here's basically what we're looking at, and here's what we're going to have to deal with. And even though we might not close escrow for 30, 60, 90 days, we're trying to up front let Michelle know this is the landscape of the transaction, this is what we're going to have to deal with. We also will run the names if title's held individually or husband and wife. We can pick up records such as, child support liens, tax liens, federal and state. So what we try to do so there's no surprises on a deal is
no surprises.
Kind of, state the case of here's what we're working with so that all parties can work together.
Okay.
And then, secondly, at a broader level, what is title insurance? I could give you a really long answer, but I'm going to do my best to be short here. Essentially what we do is we come in, we're the behind-the-scenes guide that insure transactions when buyers and sellers transfer property to each other. You have to have title insurance. Some of the functions we do is we're reporting everything that's of record on the property, and then we're making sure that everything is dealt with, paid off, and clean, if you will, so that when the buyer closes escrow, they are indeed the owner of record. Everything that was secured against the property from the previous owner has been dealt with. And ultimately, we are insuring the buyer for as long as they own the property. One of the things people misinterpret about title insurance is it's unlike auto insurance or health insurance that you might pay monthly or yearly. When you close with the title policy, it's going to protect you for as long as you own the property.
Okay. And I had just had 2 cash deals where I was on the buyer side, and I was asking Mark, I said, now, does the buyer have to buy title insurance? Because normally what happens is there's an owner's policy that's paid for by the seller. We almost always write in Southern California that the seller pays for the owner's insurance that covers the buyer for the length of time that they own the property. And then in most cases you have a loan. So the buyer pays for a lender's title insurance. So in this situation, it was unusual that the buyer didn't have to buy anything. And I was asking him, I go, should they be buying something? But I have this correct, right? I'm doing a good job here.
You're doing a great job, and that's something that's confusing a little. On typical transactions where a buyer is getting a loan, there's 2 title policies on the transaction. One is, as you alluded to, called the owner's policy. That's going to protect the buyer as long as they own the property. Typically in California, it's paid for by the seller. A little backwards, some other states do it differently. But most sellers essentially didn't pay for it when they bought.
So it's sort of just a, I don't know what the word is. Yeah, it's just an established thing.
That's the way it usually works here. But then the buyer, it's the buyer's choice to get a loan, right? They can pay cash, they can get a loan. If they do get a loan, that's what we issue, what's called a lender's policy. And all banks,
lenders, they won't let it go.
Yeah, it's their choice to get a loan. So the buyer is going to pay for the lender's policy of the title insurance, while the seller pays for the buyer.
Is there a big price difference between the 2 different type of policies?
The lender's policy is lower. It's not a clean percentage, if you will. It's all title insurance is based on liability amount.
Okay.
So the owner's fee is calculated on how much the sales price of the home, and the lender's fee is based on how much the financing is.
Okay.
So in your example is if somebody's buying cash, there's no need for the lender's policy. So essentially the buyer is not going to have a title fee, if you will, at the close, but rest assured they're still getting title insurance for as long as they own the property.
Okay.
Does that help clear it up?
I feel a lot better. I hope that you feel better about title now. But if you have any questions, Michele K and Mark Manwaring.
Thanks.